It is time for the front pages of our daily newspapers this morning, and let's start off with the Business Day this morning.
Indeed, let's do. All right, here's the front page of the Business Day. Their lead story this morning, members of Parliament defy Treasury's advice on pensions. And this is, of course, about that two-pot system. And Parliament's Finance Committee has gone against the advice of Treasury and the retirement industry, who wanted this pushed back to 2025. But Parliament's Finance Committee going ahead and making the date March the 1st next year, 2024. So that's what that story is about. Also, MPs vote to close the Israeli embassy. We spoke about that in our news bulletin as well. Incidentally, the picture there is from the Donetsk region in Ukraine, and this is rescuers working on the side of a hospital that was heavily damaged. And was it yesterday that we were saying this war seems to be all but forgotten at this stage, because the Middle East has now taken center stage. A poor state of finances, a hurdle for climate billions, and also in the margins there, SAA probe eyes the recovery of billions. And this was, of course, before Scopa yesterday in Parliament, where the SIU was talking about having recovered 14 million, but they're still going after 3.4 billion that they wish to recoup. And this is all about companies and individuals who were awarded contracts irregularly.
All right, that's the front page of the Business Day. Let's move on to the Star now. And they're also going big on the rand manipulators must pay. That's the story. Remember, that's our question of the day. It's also our interview that's coming up in the next hour. Opposition parties urge the South African government to take strong action. They have called on the government to act convincingly against those involved in the rand manipulation scandal that has recently rocked the country. Last week, Standard Chartered Bank became the latest commercial bank to admit to wrongdoing, and it agreed to pay 42 million rand to the Competition Commission for its role in conspiring to rig trades involving the US dollar-rand currency pairing. So they go into a bit of detail on that one. Then Lodge gets suspended sentence for assault. Remember, this was in our training topics as well. Orlando Pirates player Thembinkosi Lodge has been suspended, sentenced to 3 years in prison for assaulting his ex-girlfriend, Fundiswa Matitibala. That's, I think, what the surname is. However, the sentence was completely suspended for 5 years on the condition that he's not found guilty of similar offences during the same time. So, 100,000 rand as a fine. And this is going to people opposing women abuse and a non-governmental organisation as well, with 50,000 rand due on the day of his appearance and the remainder of instalments. So that's that story. And then finally, 10-day suspension advised for Malema 5 PMs. So the suspension for those 10 days, all without remuneration, in February 2024 has been recommended as a sanction against the EFF leader and 5 of his party MPs for disrupting the State of the Nation address earlier this year. So you can read about that there.
On top there, Pistorius could be freed by the weekend. Oscar Pistorius. Moving on to the Citizen, a nightmare before Xmas. And this is the story of the ports and the containers that are stuck, and trucks as well. So as 57 ships and 70,000 containers wait off Durban for unloading amid the chaos caused by a 50 billion rand infrastructure problem. Retailers say to avoid Christmas shoppers facing empty shelves, they have to fly the stock in. And the operator of the inland port in Gauteng is also calling for Transnet to be placed under business rescue. And meddling sees SA host Under-19 World Cup. This is the Cricket World Cup. Sri Lanka were meant to host. There's been political meddling there, so they have now been stripped of that. It's coming to South Africa, and Bafana stung by wasps.
Sure. All right. I love that. Just stung by wasps. Okay, next one. The Sowetan final paper. SA moves closer to cutting ties with Israel. We're hearing all of those in our news bulletins. And then, of course, that story up in the top there. Andile Stix-Dlamini, the goalkeeper of Mamelodi Sundowns, laid ladies arriving after their winning of their second CAF Women's Champion League crown at Ivory Coast on Sunday evening. And then their big story, they don't want me to be MEC. Kaponong Mayor claims accusations against him are a plot to block his ambitions, and ANC moves to suspend Tele following threats on residents complaining about potholes. So that's the big stories there, of course, on the front page of the Sowetan. And just further on your story you said about Oscar Pistorius, remember that parole hearing is on Friday. So that's where they're saying he could be a free man come Friday. So we'll watch that one closely.
And don't forget the SABC website as well, www.sabc.com. And there you can, of course, go and have a look at those stories, some of the stories we've covered at SABC, as well as your podcast. It's 7 o'clock.